gets more intimate. It's a thing of where I'm no longer using my words, but I know he knows well enough now that if I were to use another way of communicating, that he's able to hear it out. But he has to, especially when we were doing it, we were actually doing it in the woods. So we had to listen very carefully because we were stepping on sticks and stuff. So hopefully no one thought that they were hearing a snap when they were stepping on a stick. But this is kind of how our walk with Christ goes. We can't see anything. We're blind to everything around us. So we're supposed to be blind to everything around us. But we have this blindfold on. We're listening as best we can. And sometimes we'll get the wrong idea. Sometimes we think we hear God snapping over here when he's actually snapping over here. And so we get kind of confused, and we have to readjust and replace our blindfold back on and kind of get everything situated once again. You can make a blindfold. So, but if we were in the building like before, he doesn't know the layout. He doesn't know what hallways go which way. He doesn't know anything of that nature. I'm the one that's leading and guiding him. And with the blindfold, even more so, but if he were to take the blindfold off, he would still be blind. He wouldn't know where to go, and he would be stuck in the area he is. He can still see, but he can choose his own path. He no longer has to listen to me because he has his eyes, but he could go the wrong way. There's multiple paths ahead of us, and he can, if I were to say, you're supposed to go left, and he's like, but right looks easier. It seems a little shorter. And eventually either we can get completely lost, or we can get to the point where it's going to take a little bit longer to get around because you have to go out and then come back around because you didn't listen the first time. So we need to keep our blindfolds on. Allow the person that knows best to guide us. I'm not sure about you. If I'm going to a place that I've never been before, I would rather have someone that has been there multiple times, knows the place like the back of their hand, to guide me. If I'm having someone that arrives the same day I'm there to guide me, I'm in trouble. And so we may be lost together, but we're still lost. So it's important to rely and have trust, have faith in the one that actually knows what he's doing, where he's going, and where we're going. So, but sometimes we take off the blindfold, we know what path to go. We feel like we know what path to go, but then we're still confused, but we're going to push on because this is what we can do. And we're still lost, we have no idea where we're going, paths ahead. There are many paths ahead, and which one's the right one? And it kind of reminds me of the story of Abraham, talking about him and Sarah, and where God had a plan. He showed them the thing that was supposed to come through him, the descendants that were supposed to come through him, as many as the stars. But it was taking too long for Abraham. So Abraham takes it in his own hands, takes the steering wheel in his own hands. I got it. I can do this. So he does. But he kind of makes a mess. And the first child is not the promised child. The promised child does come in due time. But in the future, with those two children, it causes major conflicts and major things, just more a mess than it should be. If he had just kept the blindfold on and listened, and he tried to slow down and not push in his own strength. Another thing when God is leading with our blindfolds on, we can't look back. We can try to look back, but we can't see because we're blind. We have blindfolds on. So we're focusing on listening. We're focusing on where God is pressing us to. We can think on things. We can think on stuff back here. But we can't see back there. We can't turn back around. We can't go the way we came. If we tried with the blindfold on, most likely we're going to try to run into a wall. And if we take the blindfold off, we're even more lost because we don't know how we got here. So there are these times when God reveals things to us. He reveals pieces of what we need to do, things that we need to do to press on to the next point in our journey with Him. Things that He wants us to say, things that He just puts us in. Same thing with churches, just congregations, things that He wants us to do in certain aspects, and even in the church worldwide. He has the bigger picture, and He knows exactly what He's doing. He knows where all the pieces go, where they need to be. But it's not in our job description to have that full picture. We just have our picture. This is our job description, our side of things He has placed us to do, and we do it well. as long as we stick to that and stick to what God has said us to do. God has so many plans for each and every one of us. And He has so many plans for this church and other congregations. He has plans for the church worldwide. Things that we couldn't comprehend. Things that we don't even understand will happen. And I'm excited to see what will happen. But don't remove what protects us. Don't remove God's protection over us. And what do I mean by that? I found an interesting quote. I can remember back when I went to, last summer, I was an intern at a church in Beaver. And I went to General Assembly because the pastor, Kevin Bartley, went to General Assembly. And at one of the services there, the pastor was talking about it, and he was talking about this very thing. But a quote caught my attention. I held on to it ever since then. It's been about a year now. And the quote was, "Doubt isn't the enemy of faith, it's sight." So we see that when we're looking at the things of this world, when we're looking at everything that's ahead of us, the things that we're going through, the situations that are in front of us, when we focus on them with our eyes, we're no longer focusing on our ears. We're focusing on our eyes. Then we feel a little bit hopeless. There are some circumstances in my life where if I were to look at them with my human eyes, it doesn't seem like it's going to go any better. There's no way out of it, and I'm stuck in this box where I don't see a way out. But if I were to kind of move forward and put the blindfold back on, I know a God that can heal. I know a God that can save people. And that can deliver people from addictions and different things of that nature, things that have held people for years. I know a God that can bring people back after many years of being gone from the church. So, we know a God that can do all these things, the things that everything else would be impossible for us to do. Things that we can't do in our own strength. We believe in a God that can. We believe that Jesus is coming back. And He's coming back soon. And it's an exciting thing to kind of get to experience, kind of living in this time period and telling other people about. It's coming. It's coming. He's coming back. You better be ready. But it's a promise. We may or may not get to see Him coming back. But we know for a fact He's coming back through faith. So we should shut our eyes until then, put the blindfolds on, lift our heads, and allow Him to guide us every step. The Word says that the Word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And that's not meant for long distances. It's meant for one step at a time. We can't try to run ahead of the light. We're going to hit a wall. It's going to be loud, painful. We may fall, and may be some tears too. But we need to put the blindfold on. We may still stumble. This is not a thing that we may not stumble. Sometimes we still get confused about what He's trying to tell us. There may be times of stumbling. There may be times of falling. But the thing about it is we need to get back up. The Lord wants us to press forward, to listen to Him, to continuously walk with Him side by side. Don't overstep Him. Don't try to take control of the wheel, but to allow Him to guide our path whatever way He wants to guide our path. If He's using His arms to move us around, like I was doing with Josh earlier, if He's talking with us in our ears through the Word, guiding us on every path we take, or even if it's to the slightest sound that He's guiding us on. And I feel like when the Lord shares with us, and when the Lord is picking us up and having us move forward once again, He's excited, and He says, I'm excited to show you what's ahead. I'm excited to show you the things I have in store for you, for the people of this congregation, for the church and worldwide in general. I'm excited for what I have in store. And I can't wait for you to be a part of it. And that's our job. We see that even the people we talked about earlier, that was their part. They all played a part, an important part of God's master grand plan, the grand scheme of things. We all play a part. We may not be the main character, And that's okay with me, at least. I'm not sure if it's okay with you, but it's okay with me. I don't want to be the main character. I'd rather be a supporting character for the true main character. And so, I'm excited to see what he has in store for us. I really don't have much else. I know it wasn't a very long message, but I'm glad I got to share with you. Just this talk about faith. Does anyone have anything they want to share about faith?
You had a short lesson, but you said a lot. And I love your illustration about seeing the things around us. We think what we see, and we think we know what to do. And we might even sit down and put together a plan on how do I get out of this, or how do I make things better. But when we do it by what we see, we're bound to make mistakes because we're not including God when we do what we see with our own eyes. And I've told a lot of people, either through my teaching or preaching or just witnessing or just sharing with friends, that when we look at things through the eyes of God, when we look at things the way that Christ may look at it, or a strong Christian person that loves Christ and follows Christ, those that live in a world and live a sinful life see things differently than you and I do. And they see things with their eyes. But we as followers of Christ should be, and if we don't, we better start learning really quick to see things with the eyes of God. And it can change your whole perspective on things. And I'm still learning this today. I mean, I've been a preacher's kid my whole life, you know, and my dad was in the ministry for like 60 some odd years before he finally passed away. And I'm 60, I'll be 64 in August, and I'm still learning that, hey, when you're hit with hardships, don't look at it with your own human eyes. Look at it with the eyes of God and the way God looks at things. But our first initiative, our first response is the flesh. Because we get stressed out, we get anxiety, we're like, you know, why is this happening? How am I going to get out of this? And so our first response is to look at it from a fleshly point of view and not a God point of view. And you brought that out in your illustration.
I have faith, right? Like literally, my daughter, she's growing. But it reminds me of two stories, and they actually involve her, oddly enough. Our first lambing season was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. But we had this baby lamb, and it was born with a back issue. And Faith had decided to pray for the little lamb so that it'd get better. Its name was Hoppers. And I had put a divider out there because we had two mothers with their lambs, and one of them had knocked that table over, and that lamb that had the hurt back, it fell on that lamb exactly where it was hurt. And so she finds it out there a little bit before I get out there to the barn, and she's crushed. I mean, the lamb is alive, and she gets the table off of it, but it breaks its back in half. And so the lamb is trying to get up, but its back is in half. And she's been praying for this little lamb, so I said, okay, we're going to give it 3 days. So we pray, and I'm in agreement with her. We're going to pray for this little lamb, and it doesn't get better. So I do what I have to do. Well, then it was a few months later. We had some, because they were born in the winter, and in the summer, our chickens had some baby chicks. And one of those chicks got in the neighbor's yard, and the dog got a hold of it and broke its leg. Its leg was literally hanging by its bit of skin. It was like, it had no movement, no nothing. And it was hopping around. And I know all these animals are involved hopping around, but it's a true story. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's going to die. one-legged chicken, you know, and there's predators and stuff around, and it's, you know, barely getting around. It's not going to be able to eat or keep up with its mom. Its mom's going to abandon it. And I'm like, I did not pray with her, but she kept praying for this little baby chicken. And that little baby chicken, its leg fully healed. A miracle, no joke. It should not have healed by any means. And all the kids witnessed it. My wife witnessed it. She saw it. I saw it. We all saw it. And so we got on that subject, and I'm like, faith, it talks about in the Bible our faith being a mustard seed and God measuring out each one of our faith. I said, your faith wasn't big enough for a baby lamb, but it certainly was big enough for a baby chicken. So she's growing her faith as well. And I thought that was really cool that God cares even for the birds to feed them. He cares even more so for us. But it's all about faith.
Upon what Trish just said, it's difficult to have a relationship with someone if you don't listen. Men, do you listen to your wives? I was found guilty of not listening quite often when I was married. And she let me know, you know, without hesitation, you never listen. I asked you 2 days ago to take that trash out. And we did one ear and out the other. What is wrong with you? You know? And so, but you can't have a good relationship if you don't listen. Even in our human relationships with each other and friends and husbands and wives, we need to learn to listen to what each other is saying. And it's even more important to listen to what God is trying to say to us. And so I find that, yeah, I experience a lot of sadness because I live alone, but I also experience a lot of joy because when I get along with God, there's no interruptions. It's just me and God, and I can listen, and I can hear His voice, and we spend time together every day, just me and God. And myself and Christ have developed a very intimate relationship because of that alone time. And there's nothing like it. But you've got to listen. When He speaks, you've got to listen and hear His voice.
I like the part of your illustration where you're giving directions by snapping your fingers. And I thought, how many times you have to listen intently to that and not try to anticipate the left or the right or the backward or the forward. Because you can get yourself in a mess because you didn't listen, you tried to overstep or get in front of God. And so how important it is to be patient with that and let God direct you and let God lead you. You know, that still small voice, that small snap of a finger or whatever it is that God is leading you, you have to listen to that. If you try to anticipate that and run into yourself smack dab into the wall and break your nose, you know. So that's really, I appreciated that. That really stood out to me. Reminded me of that we need to be patient and listen.
Off of what Pastor just said. Actually, I wanted to say one thing when he said that. But I wanted to say, Jesus never in the Bible says, "He who has eyes, let him see." He never says that, not one time. But He does say, "He who has ears, let him hear." But when the pastor said that, I automatically thought of be still. Because if Josh if he started fidgeting and stuff, he couldn't hear you. He'd run into something, right? still. It's almost the same thing, right? Just being still, listening, and hearing God.
You talk about the lantern. Yeah, the lantern, you can only see so far. A couple of images came to my mind. One, a story and a thought. And I'll start with the story. There's a mountain who's climbing in the dead of night. And he climbs and he climbs and he climbs and he grabs a ledge that he thinks is solid and it's not. And so he falls. But he's got his safety equipment on, and so a cable he's attached to this wall catches him on the way down. And he finds himself floating in the air, attached to this cable. And he cries out to God, God, save me. I cannot get out of this on my own. Save me. And God says, cut the rope. And the guy sits there and he argues and he argues and he argues, and in the cold night, eventually he dies because he won't cut the rope. And a few days later, some woodsmen come around and they see him floating on the ground 4 foot in the air because he wouldn't cut the rope. And it's this idea of he's in darkness, he's blind, he can't see anything. And you just have to take the leap when God gives you the command. You just have to take the leap. And then the other image that came to my mind was if you have a torch or a lantern and you can see 20 or 30 feet in front of you at most on a dark night, right? Jesus says, I am the way. I'm the path to the Father. So I've got my torch out, and I'm looking, even if I'm not blindfolded, and I'm looking around with my torch, and I can see 20 feet this way, 20 foot that way, I can only see one path. There's only one path to the Father. And that's why Christ says, you got to follow the path. It may take you up and down and left and right and over a mountain and through the woods to grandmother's house, but you've got to follow the path. Because as soon as you start walking off into the wilderness, you won't find a way back. Not without Christ coming back and leading you back to the path.
So when you were talking, it's kind of along the same lines of what you can see. You were talking a while ago, and you had Josh up there, and then he went and sat down, and you mentioned, now if you stop and you look back, in my mind I was thinking of time. And if you look back, you can never, ever see back in time. You've been back in time, and whatever you perceive during that time, a lot of it you retain in your memory, but you can't, if you try to look back in time with your eyes, you see nothing, because there's nothing back there. It's over. It was there for an instant, and it's over. So if you took your life and you sliced it, and sliced it, and sliced it, and sliced it. I saw a cartoon one time, it was a little man, and he was 2 deep. So he's just up and down, so they draw him up, and then he's whipped. So his head is like the circumference of my head and my body, but there's no depth to it. So he could look around and he could see, like when he looks this way, you can't see from this angle, all you can see is a line that's ever how tall, because you can only see that angle. And that's kind of how time is. You can only see less than a second, because it's coming and going. You can only see the instant that you're in. And a few years back, it would have been 8 years ago, I went to Virginia, pick up my daughter and bring her back. And halfway back, the sun was going down, and we had decided we were going to stop for the night. And we come off the highway, and we get up to a light. And I could not see far enough ahead of me. If I could have seen 1 minute ahead of me, I known there's a big problem that's going to take place. But I could not see that. When the light turned green, I moved forward and turned left, and a guy climbed across. He was drunk as he could be. He wipes out the front bumper of the car. It doesn't really do anything to us except destroy the car. And destroy his car, and it was a mess. And he takes off and runs out in the field and hides until I think they found him with some dogs or something. But I couldn't see, except for the instant that I was in. I didn't know what was coming. I heard a story about a guy that was jogging on the beach. He's out there and he's running. And an airplane comes down and lands right on top of him. He doesn't know his life's fixing to be snuffed out. He can't see that far. But God is talking about somebody being outside that can see it all. God can see time. He can see what we've been through. He can see it like right now. What we've been through in our past. He can see it as if it's right now. He can see what's formed us and made us. He can see where we came from. He can see where they came from. And he can see where we're going. He can see just as easily. He's talking about the path, or Aaron was talking about the path. He can see that path and what's down that path. We can't see what's down that path. But he can see what's down that path. His word tells us, live by these guidelines, because it's going to keep you on the path. Now, I can see down that path. And if you get off that path, I can help you back on that path. You have to listen to me. Even on that path, you have to listen to me. Because there's times he wants you to pause. There's times he wants you to go to the right, and sometimes he wants you to go to the left. And sometimes he wants you to back up a little bit. Because there's still, even on that path, there still can be problems that come and infiltrate that path. Within the church, there are times where there's people within the church that don't have the purest of motives. And God can see that, and God can help us maneuver that. At work, we don't know who we're working with and what their motives are, or their ideas, if they're trying to promote up, and they're willing to. There's been times in my life where I've run into people like that at work that they had something else going on, and God's been able to keep me secure. There are things that we can't see. We definitely cannot see. We can actually see very little with our eyes. And we make so many judgments by that little instant of time that we can see with our eyes. And it's not enough information. It is never enough information. If we're not listening to the Spirit of God and reading His Word, we really don't have enough information to move upon.
And I experienced some of that actually just not too long ago, because I've been kind of looking around for a house to buy, kind of like a retirement home, something I could settle into, be my last house, and just try to live a simple, peaceful life, if that's possible in today's world. But and so I've been watching the real estate market, and this house comes up for sale, and it's right here in West Tulsa, and it is a wonderful price. I mean, very good price. It's on a 2-acre flat lot, and the house itself is almost 2,500 square foot, 2 living rooms, a gigantic rock fireplace, a huge kitchen, and I mean and I don't need nothing that big, okay? It's a 3-bedroom house, but for the price, I thought, man, look at the possibilities, and so the more I looked at that house, the more I wanted it, and finally I decided, hey, I'm going to do it. I'm going to call that realtor. I'm going to talk to him and say I'm on the way to the bank to get a loan. I was ready to get that house. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, Danny, you idiot. You haven't prayed about it yet, And even though everything seemed like such a great deal, and it might be such a great, wonderful future home for me, when I sat down and started praying about it, I began to have my doubts about the deal because it was almost too good to be true. And then I started feeling a little uneasy about it, and so I kept praying about it. And I put off going to the bank, and I kept praying about it, and then not too long after that, it come up and it said sale pending. And so I missed my chance at getting that property. But I know in my heart and in my spirit that God was telling me, hey, wait a minute, back up. Back up. Here. Back up. You're fixing to make a big mistake. And if I had not taken that to the Lord first, if I'd have just jumped on it like I initially wanted to do, then it could have ruined me, because I'm 64, right? So it could have ruined me for the rest of my life if something was not right with that. And so I took it before God, and the more I prayed about it, the more uneasy I felt. But initially, man, there it is, that's it. But I started praying about it, and I'm like, man, I don't feel right about it now. And so, that thing about hearing and paying attention to what God's trying to tell us, to either back up or to go left or right, it's so important in our lives, He's trying to protect us. He's trying to guide us. But we have to learn to listen. And for some of us, that's hard to do. Stubbornness runs in my family. We're all like mules. And we get something in our head, the Martin family, if we get something in our head, something we want to do, it's hard to change, And so I really come so close to getting that house, but I started taking it before the Lord, and I just got to feeling so uncomfortable about it. I waited so long that somebody else is now trying to buy it. And so it's just so important. I can't say enough about listening to God and learning to go in the direction that He wants us to go.
Well, the scriptures say that the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous. He says the ears of the Lord are open unto their prayers. So the Lord sees and the Lord hears. He knows everything. There's no secrets with the Lord. He knows. He's a good God. He cares. And it's good that He cares about us. He sees us and He hears our prayers. It's a beautiful thing. He's so good. Thank you, Lord.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day we given us, Lord. We thank you for this time together, Lord, all the things that have been said, Lord Jesus, about your goodness, Lord. Having faith in you, Lord. You are the one to have faith in, Lord. We thank you for all the things you give us, Lord. And we pray.
Good lesson.